Hello everyone, welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot, and of course welcome to my new people. I wanted to get into today, I got a whole bunch of notes from people and emails over the last few days, and it really feels like the energy is kind of ramping up. You know, we looked yesterday at whether or not to walk away, because it feels like in some cases like things have shifted. So maybe there's been a long time without contact, but it feels like all of a sudden right now it just feels that much heavier. So we're going to look into kind of what's happening with your person on the emotional side, because it feels like, and every time I do a personal reading, it seems like this is coming out also as an emotional shift on your person's side, which is causing some waves for you. So that's what we're going to look into today. Just kind of see what's happening with them in the emotional, what's happening on their end. It'll be a general reading as usual, as always. So it's not going to resonate with everybody, and it really shouldn't resonate with everyone. I always say that because it shouldn't. It's not going to be everybody that's in the collective, you know. If you are finding that it resonates with you, then this might be, maybe you go ahead and subscribe, or maybe you go ahead and take a look at some of the other messages that have come before, because these are all very much connected. So if you see something here that's helpful, there may be something else that's going to be helpful in some of the other messages as well. So we'll go ahead and jump in. We're going to look at the energetic and emotional backdrop between the two of you, but focusing more on kind of what's happening on your person's end. And right off the bat, I've dropped some cards, but they are part of the reading. So there's this one and there's this one. Six of Boons, that is earth energy. Three of Visions, that is water energy. It is, so we're getting a little bit of, this is like the Six of Pentacles, and it's about give and take, energetic give and take. It's back and forth of that energetic energy, or energetic, an emotional flow. Okay, there's the strong sense of flow, investment, respect comes out in this. And it's more, not so much that there is a respect for or not having a respect for someone. It's more that feeling of focus on respect. The Three of Visions is, it's representing that third party. That's really what we've got showing up with that Three of Visions. And then we've got something else here. Child of Boons. There are lessons that are kind of, feel like they're sinking in right now. There's a sense of lessons sinking in with your person at this time. You might have lessons sinking in with you too, because some of this is emotional and energetic backdrop that's going to be impacting you, as well as your person and anyone else in this collective. So we've got that focus on emotional and energetic give and take. We've got openness and receptivity to lessons, which is probably the most important thing coming out of that Child of Boons, and it is focused more heavily on your person's side, just the way we ask the question, and so that's the way the energy comes out. So some of it may be shared, and yet you know, it's coming out, even though it's for them, it may also apply to you. So there's somebody in your person's midst, some sort of situation that's feeling a little bit toxic. It is something that they are, I guess, able and willing to see the toxicity in it a little bit more clearly now. What have we got here? The Chariot. They are disinclined to do as much about it as, honestly, as they would have thought. So as they look at this situation, they think, boy, I never expected to end up here. But even more than that, I never expected to end up here and feel like I'm not going to take some sort of decisive action. Like they are not moving quickly, not taking a decisive action. And it's one of those things they never would have guessed that they would take anything other than a decisive action in this situation, because they really, I guess, on the surface, it looks like something they would react quickly to, but in reality, it's more complicated than that. Okay, we have the Five of Pentacles. Five of Pentacles, which is not necessarily their intentional focus, but their attention is being directed to kind of a focus around the big three that we talk about, the big three fears, the fear of rejection, of abandonment, of betrayal. That's a place where, as we've often talked about, your lessons overlap with theirs. With this, we see kind of an unintentional focus on that. And depending on how much your person is ready to move forward with their lessons, this may or may not be very, like I was saying, intentional. It may be if they are pretty far along and they are feeling like they're pretty far along, they might say, I see my attention being directed to this and I'm ready to go ahead and have that focus. They recognize that something isn't right, but I get a sense of change in this. This is a Justice card in the reverse. I got to take this sweater off. So this is a Justice card in the reverse, and it talks about something not quite being right in their life. But they're doing something about it. It isn't implied by the way the card has come out, but I feel like they're doing something about it. They're speaking out. They're having some kind of impact on the situation, even though they do feel like their hands are tied and they can't just move forward quickly like they might have imagined. There's also a little bit of so their hands are tied partially because they don't have all the information that they need. With the moon, there's a fair amount of mystery about this. With the King of Cups, there is it's like a place where their emotions get to a certain point and then they shut down. And I feel like this is, maybe it's impacting you, but it's more associated with this third party. It's like a defense mechanism that they have built in so that they don't overload the circuits too often on their emotion with regard to the situation. But this doesn't feel like the love and pleasant sort of emotion. This more feels like the sort of also something that can be quite overwhelming, but just not as positive. Maybe something that comes at them too quickly. They see too much. I get the sense they see too much when they allow themselves to get overwhelmed. And I feel like it's too big, it's too insurmountable of a situation. So with this Four of Pentacles, they're holding on to something, and it fits in perfectly with this because they're holding on to energy that, and it's associated with this third party here. They're holding on to energy that gives them stability, but doesn't necessarily give them happiness. And so this King of Cups, this limitation that they place on their emotions, gives them a little bit of an out. So when they have the realization, because we've got an increasing amount of awareness showing up in this person, when they see that they are not necessarily doing what they want to be doing emotionally with their lives, with their energy, they get very frustrated, and that's where they run the risk of overwhelm. So this energy kind of protects them from getting overwhelmed in that way. Particularly because they feel like they are lacking something in kind of the area of emotional, it's not just emotional intelligence, it's emotional stability, but more independence, like an emotional independence. So that's something that they rely on your energy for, but there's a little bit of discord in them when they do that because they feel like they're putting you in charge in some places, or not necessarily in charge, but at a position of power. That they're putting you in a position of power in their mind in some places where they feel that they should be the more powerful one. So there are almost power struggles going on in their own mind that they don't concern anything you are actually doing. So there are struggles happening in this person's mind. There's a lot of evaluation about whether they've been putting forth the right amount of energy, what the implications of that are, what shifts from it. Because I feel like not just recognition of that, but also what happens as a result of it. It's heavy energy of this third party around them, but if they're around this, we already know there's kind of that force field sort of energy around this third party that makes them makes them different, makes them perceive things differently. I do get that there's a sense of awareness around that, which gives them a little bit of an ability to create insulation around themselves from that force field, but it's not complete. But with this energy, this is something that I'm curious about. It really only just kind of came out in a little bit of a snippet there, that there's somebody in their midst that is not necessarily, doesn't always operate with their best interests in mind. And this goes beyond that self-absorbed energy that came up previously in the other reading where we were, it was, I don't remember, it was a couple days ago, but it was somebody that does something that's like, it was to you, I think. And it was more like they weren't trying to be difficult. They just happened to be difficult because they were making selfish decisions. This has less of that energy and more of an actual deceptive energy to it. But I feel like with the receptivity to the learning and the openness to the messages, your person, they have a little bit more of an increased openness to intuition and messages right now. They may be able to see and respond properly to that. So I kind of feel confident about this person, even though this doesn't feel like a very good energy. Okay, let's look into a little bit more about what's happening in on their end and what's happening in their emotions. So at this point, we're not seeing a ton of what's happening in their emotions other than their ability to limit them and the fact that they know they've got some healing in areas that would imply they've been hurt before with the rejection and the betrayal and the abandonment. Okay, so we've got the strength card here. This is actually really good. This is strength winning out over fears. So this is where, you know, some of you are hearing from your person. And so absolutely, I've gotten notes from a couple of you saying, how come it seems like everybody is hearing from their person but me? Rest assured, I get more notes from people that say I'm not hearing from my person. It's radio silence over here. Than I get from people saying that they are hearing from their person. But you are definitely seeing an uptick in the people who are hearing something. You may, and this goes for everybody, you may hear something. This is, we saw in yesterday's energy, there's this kind of there's an upheaval a little bit in the energy. It feels a little bit like tectonic shifting or some of the pressure that happens as a result. It's just something has to break free, and there's an emotional and energetic component to this. We have the Four of Spells. Something is moving to a place of greater stability. So it's like we've got something that just, it's looking for a way to bond. It's looking for a way to, it's like and what I'm thinking of is, it's like a molecule looking for a place to bond. It's unstable because it's got a bonding site that's open that just kind of wants to finish itself, wants to complete itself. And there's a sense here of that type of seeking completion, seeking stability that's happening here, but it's mixed with strength. This comes out as somebody who can see for long distances strategically, but we have the Seven of Challenges coming out here again. This person is very aware of whatever is in their midst that does not mean well, does not mean them well. So like I said, this goes beyond that simple feeling of somebody who's just making decisions that impact them, but not positively. This is somebody who actually does not seem to have their best interests at heart. It looks like they're aware of it. It looks like they're aware of it, and they see this person as kind of an obstacle that has to be circumvented or moved past in some kind of way. Now, what I like about it is they've got this Page of Wands energy, like they've got this and they can handle this, and that matches nicely with the strength energy. But what I don't know, I just don't know how hard they're going to have to work to make this happen, because they're also, it seems like they're fighting battles at too many different fronts for them to add this, because this does feel like it is an added front. This is a new dynamic that has emerged for this person, and it has them, again, having to fight on a different front, having to deal with something where somebody does not have great intentions. And it could be that their feelings have been hurt and now their intentions have changed, have broken. There's definite change here, and it's So with the Wheel of Fortune, you kind of have to look at it in an individual situation to see how material those changes are to the physical realm. These are definitely changes that happen that show up in the household. With the Nine of Wands here, though, it's like your person finds themselves in a new situation. And yes, definitely there could be an element of that change to the household that shows up there, but they find themselves in a new frame of mind because they're sitting there and it's like they're watching the place burn down, but they're not having a bunch of materialistic concerns. They're just glad that everyone made it out safely. It kind of has that feeling to it. But with the Ten of Cups here, so we have the Ten of Cups in the World that have both now come out here in the reverse. It suggests tougher path ahead for this person. There's going to be an element of it that has to do with kind of an obstacle. This Seven of Wands, or I'm sorry, the Seven of Swords obstacle person, this one with the deceptive energy, is not particularly strong in the planning area. Or if they are, they're not exerting very much of their strength. They're just kind of lashing out. So it's not like they are laying a bunch of traps that will later be found and muahaha. It's not like that. However, it has that impact because they're essentially leaving landmines in places where they forgot about it. You know, they're not intentionally trying to blow stuff up, but they end up having a little bit of an impact on your person where they are disoriented, emotionally disoriented, have to work through some things for a little while. Meanwhile, and consequently, there are some things that don't get resolved. I feel like some of the resolution with you, some of the reconciliation that needs to take place with you in order to line you up for a possible reunion, if that's what you choose, because not everyone wants to choose that, but the reconciliation matters. The reunion, it really varies depending on the situation. There are some pieces here where they're not going to be prepared to reconcile, but I also get the sense there are some pieces where they very likely may be ready to reconcile. So you may be looking at partial reconciliation or something that takes time to unfold because they're still making some learning on their part. So that doesn't really... that makes sense. That makes sense that they wouldn't just have all the answers and come back and reconcile with you. Like, even if it's been years, it might still take some time. There is something blooming in this person, though. Something blooming in your person that has to do with, it's like a mix between the energy of being aware of the ground they haven't covered or the opportunities they've missed. There's still that sense of a missed opportunity that comes up in some of these readings. There's this sense of wanting to make up for lost time in a way. And that feels like the energy that's blooming in this person, but it also feels like with the Magician in the reverse here, they only have so much capacity to move forward. Like there's some kind of way that their hands feel tied. They don't feel like they have all of the ability to do what they want to do in this situation. And yet the sun is out. They're still feeling pretty good about things. They're able to use their pain as a map. And this is one of those things I love seeing for you. So when we get to this over here, we're going to ask about what you need to focus on given what's on the rest of this reading. And this is where I love to see that one come out, where it's a matter of the pain that you have felt in the past becomes very useful reference information for you, but it's not something that you necessarily have to go through. You don't have to feel that pain over again. The cool thing is it's happening for your person now. So as much as I also would like to see that for you, seeing it for your person is great because anything that improves their outlook improves you, improves everything for you. And so we see the Strength card come out again. We've got the double Strength card here. This is what I meant when I was saying like the sun is coming out. There's this feeling of momentum. Your flame is growing, and I've been reluctant to say this, but I think your person's flame is potentially growing too. And not that I don't want it to be true. I just don't want to mislead you. And I also see evidence to the contrary in some cases. So I think it's just a matter of a very mixed bag. You have the Two of Cups, though, coming out. So here's a person that And we'll get a little bit more into this. I wonder if maybe we grab a couple of cards in here to get into when we get into the extended reading here, because I would think about maybe getting into this Two of Cups a little bit. I also wonder, there are a couple of other things in here, like this change that's happening that means changes to their material world, significant changes to their material world. I think maybe we look a little bit more into what those changes look like, because it looks like they're doing great with that energy. So we'll look into that a little bit more, and we'll also look into this. We've got this Two of Cups that talks about partnership, and really, honestly, this is their readiness for a partnership. So even if it ends up being they run into somebody that they run with and they like to hang out with, and it's a coworker and it's just a friend and whatever, they're warming up. They are warming up for the ability to partner a little bit more readily and a little bit more cleanly. It also means greater hope for vulnerability. So I see this as really positive energy. We'll look into this, like I said, when we get into the extended and see what other messages want to come out for that. In the meantime, let's get into you. Let's take a look at, like I said, where should you be focusing given the rest of what's on this table? Okay, we have the oldest one. That's about taking advice. We have the Enchanter's Wheel. That's about change. That's change that's happening, change that's coming for you. But I feel like you're meeting it with eyes wide open and head on. It's not change that surprises you. This advisor is helping you through it. You've got at least one advisor, you know, and it could be somebody as distant as I am, you know, just some person that's on YouTube that's tuned into your frequency that's over here saying, here's what I see for you. Or maybe there are going to be some that are much closer to you where it's people that actually know you, have known you, and they're able to say, here's my recommendation on some direction for you. But it leads you in a direction of change that you end up feeling pretty confident about. We also have the Seeker of Boons, but it's in the reverse. I guess what I'm seeing here is not being in any hurry. I don't think that's necessarily a problem. I think the speed with which you learn your lessons at this point, like you've got, I often say the worst of the pain is behind you at this point. We know that it feels like sometimes it kind of ramps up and down, but I still feel like the worst of it is truly behind you. And so this, again, the speed with which you learn these lessons is not critical. It's not like, oh, you better hurry up and get there, you know. You have some good decisions you're making about your household right now. They might seem like small decisions, so keep that in mind. With the Hierophant, it's the same energy as this oldest one here. I think that's what that was. Yes, the oldest one. It's that same energy of advice, of you being receptive to that advice. So we have receptivity to learning over here that shows up as it's a shared energy, but is showing up mostly for your person. You're mirroring that over there. So you understand the importance of pulling in some other viewpoints and then actually taking into consideration what they have to say. But what you're finding is, or what you will be finding if you're not already seeing it, you have become a little bit tougher of a customer. So you are no longer easy to convince of certain things. So you might be moving in ways that make significant improvements, but it does not necessarily mean that you will just accept anything. You may, it is unwise to connect, or I guess to confuse radical acceptance with acceptance of everything. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily mean you're willing to take. So this focus on energetic and emotional back and forth, and the evenness of that back and forth energy is part of what I feel here. So again, chief among the big energies happening with your person right now and influencing your person right now, but it's influencing you as well. And what's coming out of this is greater discernment on your part. So I feel like that is a fabulous, beautiful, and wonderful thing. There's not really a downside to that kind of energy because it has you making better decisions and for the right reasons. Now, with the Ace of Pentacles, it also has you, this almost has like that Queen of Swords kind of feel to it. You're not just not opening doors. Well, so you're not opening doors, but you're also closing them. If these are doors that need to be closed, if it's something that needs to be changed and cut off, you're changing it and cutting it off. You have much more of an understanding and a feel for what hasn't gone well and for what you don't want in a situation now, where you may have been more accepting in the past of a wider variety of things. This more discerning version of you is less accepting of that wide variety of things. And that's not to say more closed-minded. What it is honestly more healed. So as you heal from these big three over here, the fears of betrayal and rejection and abandonment, your ability to really open up and accept any possibilities becomes greater, okay? Your healing, this is so fantastic. Your healing is, it's something that's like a self-perpetuating motion. It's a perpetual, it's a self-perpetuating cycle at this point, because as you heal something, part of the cycle is looking for that next thing to heal and having some sort of process down so that we know, or so that you know kind of how to approach different types of healing. And to be sure, every situation is different. But you are gearing up for something really important with this Ten of Swords. So the Ten of Swords is about, it's that ancient pain that we sometimes hear about in these readings. And it's pain that didn't come from your person, but that your person is probably targeting or triggering you around. There's a sense of something that comes from more deeply in your childhood, from farther back. And there's a good chance that you are seeing a little bit of connection to that pain now. And the good news is you do still have that energy of someone who's able to use what they've learned in previous situations. Oops, I dropped some. To learn from what they've seen in previous situations. So if maybe you got some knowledge in previous situations but never really assimilated it into the lesson, this is where we see you being able to better do that. But you may still find yourself a little bit stuck in your tracks. This is the energy of someone who sees a lot of options but not really sure which way to go. So be aware you could come to a place where you do have kind of all sorts of options ahead of you and no concept of which way to go. I would recommend you hearken back to this realization that it's not necessary to be in a rush. You do have some time to think about things, but you're advised also to think about what direction you have already been going, or that you are inclined to go, because you'll have already made some progress there. Yeah, you'll have already made some progress, and that's going to help you define a direction going forward. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up here. We'll go to the extended. Like I said, we're going to take this Wheel of Fortune. We're going to take this Two of Cups, and I'm still thinking about a couple of other ones to see if we can dig in a little bit deeper to see what's happening with your person, because they're cultivating an ability to pair up and to partner in a way that they have historically been a little bit incapable of doing so. We also have some pretty significant changes that are happening with them right now. Maybe we look into what that means a little bit more. I feel like there is this energy of something in their midst that doesn't mean well, but I think it constitutes a bit of a setback. With all of this strength, I don't think it's much of a setback, but I think maybe we take a look at what's happening with maybe see if that some of that third-party energy wants to come out too. So that's what I'm thinking for the extended. I'm going to sit on it for just a little bit and then shuffle the cards, and I'll be over there. So I hope to see you there. The link is down below in the description for the video. If I don't see you there, then I hope to see you again in tomorrow's video.